Good morning. Hello.
Hello,
We
hello.
are live. So excited to be here. I'm really excited actually about today's topic and just being here with you, Elvira. Good morning.
Good
Uh, wel-
morning, Lisa.
yeah, welcome to Conversations to Raise Vibrations. I am your host, Lisa Kelly, and I am always joined by the beautiful Elvira Hopper. So if
Lovely.
you're new to this, we are so grateful you're here. And we do love to engage in comments. So please, comment along with us. If you have anything to say, if you have any questions, put that in the chat. Hopefully you've given StreamYard to share your name. Otherwise, it just shows up as Facebook user. And as always, if you find value in this, please hop over to our YouTube channel and like, share, and subscribe this beautiful channel. We are trying to raise consciousness on this planet. That is our absolute number one goal with these conversations. And I was listening, and we've all heard this comment before, or this statement that we tend to teach what we also need.
Mm. Yeah,
And right, I love that
yeah,
because it used
totally.
to be said, there was always a derogatory because I'm a teacher, right? And there was always a derogatory term, and I don't even know how it goes, but those who teach can't, those who,
Yeah,
whatever
yeah.
that saying is.
Those who can do, those who can't teach.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And I
yeah,
was
which
like,
is not nice.
I don't like that
Yeah,
because there's a lot of really intelligent teachers. So I never liked that. It never fit
yeah,
my model of the world. And
yeah,
so now when I hear that other one, I'm like, yes, you know what? That's the one I want to take on. I
yeah,
love that. And
yeah,
when we
yeah,
when we do find ourselves going through things, we want to help others. We want to teach others. We just might be a few steps ahead. That's all. No
yeah,
big deal. So
yeah, yeah.
oh, good
Love it.
morning. I'm so excited. Please,
Yay.
hopefully, I see a few people jumping on. Let us know who you are. Yes, please. Okay, we're going to dive right into today's topic. And this comes on the heels of me listening to a Jay Shetty podcast, not once, but twice. I think maybe I
Mm.
needed to hear it. But
Yeah,
I picked up so many really, really, really good tidbits from it. And I thought, you know what? This is what we're going to talk about
yeah.
because this is what our world needs to understand and needs to know, especially women. We carry a lot of
Mm-hmm.
this.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to talk about guilt and shame
Mm.
and guilt versus shame, right?
Yeah.
And of course, we know the beautiful Brené Brown has done so much work
Yes.
around
Love her.
shame. Yeah, amazing work around shame. And the very beginning of this podcast, he talked about Brené Brown's work and how she defines guilt and shame. And I don't know if I really understood before I listened to this the difference between the two. I kind of
Yeah.
thought they were all melded into one. We talk
Yeah.
about guilt and shame. When I'm dealing with my clients, I say, do you have any guilt or shame we need to clear?
Yeah.
And now I understand the difference between the two,
Yeah.
right? So guilt is I'm sorry I made a mistake.
Mm.
Shame is I'm sorry I am a mistake.
Yeah.
Let that sink in,
Yeah.
right?
Ooh.
That's
Yeah.
big. For me, it was big. I was like, oh shit, that's actually a big distinction right there.
Mhm.
Because how many of us, and if you're using the words I am in front of whatever you follows next, right? We all know the I am, the powerful I am, whether you believe in God, spirit, the Bible, doesn't matter. Um, God talks about himself as the I am. And because,
Mhm.
Wayne Dyer does a lot of work around this, right? Because you are a piece of God, you are God. Therefore, whatever you're saying, following I am is I am tired, I am shitty with money, I am, whatever
Mm.
you're saying is a blasphemy
Yeah.
towards your higher self, right? So
Wow. Yeah.
not only that, you're chipping away at yourself, your self esteem, your confidence, your everything when you're
Yeah.
talking about what you are as in terms of shame. So we're
Yeah.
going to talk about today, Elvira, how to move away from shame and use guilt as a healer, as a teacher,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
We all have
Yeah.
guilt for something. So how do you feel about this?
Yeah, it's a great topic and very topical because I know most women deal with shame. I mean, that's why we relate so much to Brené Brown and the work that she's done, so much research on shame and yeah, and I think her TED Talk was one of like I think it was the most watched of all the TED Talks. So obviously this is something people are struggling with and
Yeah.
if we can support through whatever comes through us today to help people to, take back their power and release, shame, use guilt as a way of up leveling, I think we can do a service here. So yeah, I'm
Love that.
excited.
Love that you said use guilt as a way of up leveling. So
Hmm.
I want to dive into that a little bit because um, if you can use guilt as a teacher,
Hmm.
as a healer, and this requires doing your inner work, right,
Yeah.
Elvira? I mean, not everybody can use guilt, and we feel guilt for a number of reasons, right?
Hmm.
We feel
Hmm.
guilt because we said something we shouldn't have, that
Yeah.
we didn't attend something we should have, that
Yeah.
we a number of reasons, right?
Guilty. I have to apologize to my mom today because yesterday I kind of lost. I'll tell you about it after, but no. Anyway, or not. It doesn't really matter. But I think, yeah. Thank you for bringing that to my attention because I'm like, yeah, I am feeling kind of guilty about that. I don't feel shameful, but I feel guilty, and I'm
So
gonna clean it up with my mom today.
perfect. So when
Yeah.
you clean
Yeah.
it up, when
Yeah.
you work on that, when you go to somebody and you say, you know what, again, I'm sorry, I made a mistake,
Mhm.
or whatever it is that you're, apologizing for, you're owning up, you're owning your responsibility, because you and I
Yeah.
talk about this all the time, how you take radical responsibility
Yeah.
for everything that shows up in your life.
Yeah.
So you take that radical responsibility for your part.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean when we say this that you own everything.
Yeah.
You don't own it all. If somebody, I don't know, was really shitty to you, or, bullied you, or beat you, we are not suggesting by any stretch of the imagination that you are responsible for that, and you own up for your part in that. That's not what we're suggesting. That would be crazy. What we are suggesting is, what can you do differently? What responsibility can you do differently? And I'll use myself as an example. I was in a marriage before my first husband, and he was a narcissist, a complete narcissist. But he was abusive. He
Yeah.
was sometimes physically, emotionally, mentally. Now, could I say that was my fault? I'm
Yeah.
not saying it's my fault, but I did play a part in that.
Mm.
And listen, 23 years later, I have done a lot of work. I
Yeah.
can now thank him for being my greatest teacher in my life. There's a difference in that, right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
owned up to my responsibility, right? In that
Yeah.
part, I played a part. I did. I was
Yeah.
there. I wasn't absent. So,
Yeah.
but am I going to go around and feel guilty and shameful for that? Absolutely not. Not anymore. I'm done,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
Yay, Lisa.
yeah, but we all have those, right? But if you can look at that, like you just said, and then take radical responsibility for it, if you're doing your inner work and you reflect, right? Guilt is a good teacher because it makes us reflective. So when you're reflective on that, like you just said with your mom, then it's no longer going to keep growing and festering inside of you, because that's what you don't want, right? When you
Yeah.
ignore the guilt, you keep piling it up, because guess what? That's when it turns into shame.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
when it moves into the shame category. And that's what we want to move away from. We don't want to sit and dwell in shame.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is not a good place to
I
be.
love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
some
It's
Facebook
beautiful.
user just said,
Sorry.
wow, I've never heard guilt and shame defined that way. So that, yeah, I hadn't either. So sorry, it just comes up as Facebook user. I hadn't either. And so that's
Yeah.
why it was like an aha for me, and a good topic. Anyway,
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, and I mean, I'm going to share, in case anyone's curious. My mom, it would have been her 61st, no, her 62nd anniversary yesterday. Had my dad been alive. So August 15th, they got married on August 15th, 1961. They had me August 10th, 1962. So almost a full year later, they had me. And anyway, so yesterday I called her and I was, I mean, my dad's been gone. He was gone in 2012. So I'll do the math. 11 years now. Is that 11 or 12?
it,
Trying to remember.
oh my God.
May 14th, 2012. I'm doing the math here. I guess
It's
it's 11
MJ,
years,
so
right?
MJ, but yeah, so your dad is 1 year before mine.
Okay, so you're 10 years,
Yeah.
right? Okay. So my
Yes.
dad's been gone. Okay, so my dad's been gone 11 years. And so I called yesterday. I'm feeling guilty about this. Anyway, I'm sharing. Um, and I called her and I said, "Oh, mom," I said, today you would have been married, 62 years. And I was born in 1962. And I said, so she goes, no, she goes, how do you mean? And I said, what do you mean? Like, you got married in 61, you had me in 62. No, no, that's not right. And she started going on and on. Right. And I was like, okay, she's wrong, clearly. Like, I'm right. And I said, Mom, I got to go pee. I'm going to come back and call you. Think about the math. Okay. And we'll chat. Right. So I come back and, she basically brushed it away and said, yeah, okay. And I said, Mom, I said, how about, you laugh about your mistake and say, I was wrong, I'm sorry or whatever. Like, I wanted her to take accountability instead of just brushing it away. She was giving me a hard time about it. Right. And I was like, I was getting irritated, right? My mom's 84. She just turned 84. Okay.
Yeah.
So I could have been a bit more compassionate, a bit more, patient with my mom, instead of expecting her to take accountability, for the fact that she had the math wrong and apologized to me. Right. So anyways, so I just hung up and it was like, okay, have a nice day, Mom. Right. But now that I'm thinking about it, I need to call her and say, Mom, you know what? You got confused and I'm sorry that I was such a hard ass about it. That's what I'm going to say. Like, that I'm feeling a bit guilty that my mom, who's 84, got a bit confused about the math and tried to tell me I was wrong, right? When she was wrong, right? But did I have to be like, lording over her and saying, Mom, how about you
Yeah.
take accountability, right? Like,
Yeah.
she's 84. Like, just let it go. She got confused, right? So
I was just going to say that. And can I offer something?
yeah, sure. Sure.
This is just what's coming to me. Take it or leave it.
Mm.
I don't know that I would even say you got confused. I'm sorry that I went
Oh,
at you. Only because she did.
yeah.
You probably
Do I
know
need to say it?
you need
Yeah.
to say it because all of a
Yeah.
sudden there's a shame. I do it with my daughter.
Yeah.
I am very guilty
Yeah.
of doing that with my daughter.
Yeah.
And I recognize it. And she said to me, it makes me feel judged and it makes me feel shamed.
Yeah.
Just food for thought,
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
because she did. And really, does it
Does
matter?
it matter really? Yeah. And that's the thing. And in that moment, my ego took over and
I was
my
going to
ego
say,
just wanted to be right.
yes,
My ego wanted her to acknowledge that she was wrong and I was right. And
yes,
I'm thinking, oh, my sweet little mama, right? And
yeah,
and we don't have these arguments. I've done so much inner healing that I've healed our relationship. My mom hasn't done inner healing, but I have, and
yeah,
I've shifted that relationship. But yesterday was a bit of a we can fall and it's okay. We can be honest about it. I'm not perfect by any stretch. And here's an example of it. But I don't feel shame. I do
no,
feel guilty, because I've done a lot of work around shame. And
yeah,
and that's what the inner work is all about. It's about, healing the shame that we inadvertently carry over from childhood. Like, as a little girl, I was told I couldn't be on stage. Those women were sluts, right? So I wasn't allowed to be me. And every time I got on stage, I would feel shame because
mhm, mhm,
because I didn't want to be a slut, right? So I had to do a lot of inner work and heal generational trauma that helped me to become a jazz artist at 51. And my father never got to do his dream of, being an artist because
mhm.
there was shame around being an artist in his family. And so I had to heal that in order to do what I'm doing today. And I'm
Yeah,
blessed to help others heal as well.
yeah,
So there's a lot of healing that has to happen before shame takes a back seat. And
yeah,
yes, let guilt, show you how to be moving forward, clean up things if you're feeling guilty about them,
yes,
but work deeply on the shame.
yes, 100%. And MJ just said, we are real, not perfect. Thank goodness we are allowed to grow.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
true, right?
Beautiful, MJ. Yeah.
So
Love
true.
it.
And we don't have to be, as women, we don't have to be so hard on ourselves.
Hmm.
Like, we really don't. And one of the things Jay Shetty said in this podcast that I could relate to was, not now, but when my daughter was little, right? And I was working full time and all I wanted to do was be home with her. All I
Yeah.
wanted to do was be that stay at home mom and be able to
Mm.
take her to school and pick her up. I wanted that so desperately,
Wow.
but it didn't happen. The universe had different plans, and that's okay. It's totally fine. And guess what? she's okay today from it.
Yeah.
It was for a long time, I felt guilty that I couldn't spend more time with her, that I was taking her, dropping her to daycare, going to work,
Mm.
picking her up. You know how exhausted you remember how
Mhm.
exhausting that is,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
As a mom, making lunches, running out the door, yada, yada, yada. And so I know, and I can hear these young moms, because I was one, and you have so much guilt that, oh God, I wish I could have been home with my child. Well, that guilt isn't serving you. You weren't meant to
Mm.
be home with your child if this is your thing. You weren't meant to be home at that time. You had to go out and work. You had to pay bills. You had to do all these
Yeah.
things. So that's when you can let the guilt go. And
Yeah.
what I loved about was what you said. And if you're doing your inner work, you're able to do this, right? One thing you can start to do is pay attention to your inner dialogue.
Yeah.
One of the things you and I talk about in our program, Leap into Your New Life, which there's another one coming up. So, one of the things you and I talk about in the first module is really, what are those limiting beliefs? Well, pay attention to your inner dialogue. What are you telling yourself,
Yeah.
right? Like, you're able to pay attention to your inner dialogue. You're able to go, maybe I shouldn't have said that to my mom.
Mhm.
But unless you're looking and really listening to the stories that you're telling yourself in your head, they manifest, they fester,
Yeah.
they stick around as
Yeah.
what's a limiting belief, right?
Yeah. And it
Manifest,
becomes your reality.
yes. And then
Yeah.
that's what I wanted to get into. And
Yeah.
now you've got this perception, right, of how you think things should have gone, things should have went, whatever it is with a person, an experience. A big one of guilt is when you didn't get to say everything you thought you could say to a loved one before they, right? A lot of
Mhm.
people feel guilty about that. Whereas what I want to say to anyone who's feeling that, if you didn't get that opportunity, talk to them now.
Yeah. Talk to their soul.
I have a closer relationship with my dad right now,
Yeah, me too. Me too. Yeah.
right? Like, it
Yeah.
is possible. So that's just
Yeah.
one thing. But
Yeah.
begin to notice the inner dialogue and begin to reframe what you're telling
Yeah.
yourself,
Yeah.
like you just did. That was a perfect example of you reframing it, right? That was my ego that wanted to be right. My mom is, she's 84.
Yeah.
She got a bit confused. Big deal. You reframed
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So now it's no longer sitting there. And then if you can make it right, you
Yeah.
call that
I
person.
will. I'm going to call her right after this. Yeah.
Exactly. Not everybody can make it right. I get
Yeah.
that. Some people have gone from your life or whatever, but make
Yeah.
it right
Yeah.
with the next person. Make it,
Yeah.
you want to refrain from making the same mistakes over and over and over again, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the
That's
other thing is,
insanity, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
insanity. Like,
Yeah.
when you're looking, how many of, like, I felt guilty for things I didn't do, right? Things, maybe failure's a big one. Okay. A lot of women feel, I was doing that challenge, which I told you, Tony Robbins and Team Graziosi, and so many women on there felt guilty because I failed. I
Yeah.
am a failure. So then they turn it
Mm.
to I am a failure. Well, now you're looking at shame, right? Which I didn't
Shame.
realize at the time when I was listening to some women talk. But
Yeah.
reframe that and look at all the times you did succeed.
Yeah.
Wins. So I'm getting better at noticing little wins and journaling them every
Yeah.
single morning.
Oh, good for you. That's great.
Like this
Yeah.
morning, I journaled a couple wins I had yesterday, and it doesn't matter. They're small little miracles. We have to acknowledge that with ourselves.
Yeah.
It's very easy. We are hard on ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
hard. And then, we all know what happens with that, right? We get hard on
Yeah.
ourselves, we get down on ourselves. And then what I wanted to say was perception is projection. So now you have
Mhm.
this perception of, whatever you think you've done or shouldn't have done or did, whatever. And now you're projecting that out into the future, into your future relationships, into your future business, into your future environment experiences. You're bringing more of the same
Yeah.
into your life,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
How you,
Absolutely.
how you
And
feel.
that's why the inner work, thank you, Lisa, beautifully said. That's why the inner work is so important, especially for business people, because if we're not clearing, the guilt, the shame, I did something bad, I am bad, it's going to affect our business. We're going to project it out into our business, and we're going to be crap magnets,
Yes.
using my language. We're going to attract crappy things to us. And, and yet it's easy. Well, not easy, I shouldn't say. It's an easy concept, but then it's practice to do it, where you shift, like you said, reframe the story, start telling yourself some new stories about it. And then you start being a miracle magnet, because you're seeing yourself differently. You're more compassionate with yourself. You're not a failure. You might have done something that wasn't good or whatever. I'm cleaning mine up today. I did it yesterday. And here's another reframe on failure. Okay. So this is what I tell my team. Okay. There is no such thing as failure. There is winning and there is learning. There's no failure, right?
Love
Round
it.
of applause for that one. So if you can choose to tell yourself that better story whenever something goes wrong, I'm such a fuck up, or, I failed or whatever. How about, hey, there's one other way that didn't work. Let me work on that. Let me adjust. Let me adjust the sails, right?
Love it. Again, it's that reframing, telling yourself a different story, right? It works.
Yeah.
It's an NLP tool I use with clients as well. And we do it in our program, Move Into Your New Life. But it works so well if you catch yourself in that moment, right?
Yeah.
In that moment. And you can catch yourself when you're doing your inner work, right? When you're
you're more conscious, you're more aware. Yeah. You're radically self-aware when you're doing your inner work. Whereas when you're not doing that work, you're oblivious to it. You don't even realize why you're a crap magnet. Why are you just attracting more and more crappy things, illness, people around you treating you shitty, being bullied, victimhood, depression, all that stuff. You don't even realize it. But when you start living up here and you're aware, you're telling yourself better stories, you're learning new mindset, and doing the stuff, doing the things, and whatever that is for you, it doesn't matter. Just do something, right? This is what we talk about with the miracle magnet movement. It's like all modalities matter. Whatever gets you into this zone up here, where you're, using my language, loving your vibe, where you're being a miracle magnet, you've got to do that. And whatever keeps you there is unique to you. And you're a snowflake. And there's 8 billion people on the planet. There's 8 billion ways to love your vibe, to do your inner work, to be a miracle magnet. And your job is to find out what works for you. And we all have a different blueprint, right? And in my course, we teach, how to do that blueprint, so that you can be a miracle magnet forever. You don't have to go back to the dark. Yes, stuff will happen, but you can reframe it, and, how did this happen for me, not to me? And you go from being down here, why did this happen to me, to how did this happen for me? Like just hearing those two ways of saying it, like, why did this happen to me versus how did this happen for me?
Yeah.
Two different vibrations, right?
The vibrations are completely different. The energy is totally different, right? And I love when you said, like we all make mistakes. There's no such thing as failure, right?
Yeah.
So the key is just accept your mistakes. Don't be defined by them. And if you're living in awareness, if you're awake and you're living with a conscious mind, then you aren't defined by them. You can just begin to move through them. Look at what you just said. How did this happen for me? Not
right.
To, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And this just came through. I realized, because I am a leader of personal development, right? Because I have an incredible team that's facilitating this work. And I'm sure you can relate to this as well, Lisa, that our lives are basically it's a laboratory. Our life is a lab, and we're testing out things, and some things work and some things are learnings, right? And we bring them back to our people and say, hey, this worked, this didn't work. So you can learn from my mistake as opposed to making that mistake yourself. This is why we tell our story, our message, and our magic. And so, for example, maybe that whole thing with my mother happened yesterday. Here's a reframe. Maybe that whole thing with my mom happened yesterday because somebody was meant to hear me talk about it today and go, oh, look how self-aware Elvira is. I'm going to go and apologize to my mother too.
Yeah.
Who knows, right? This is why I supposedly screw up, because I meant to share that story with someone else. Like, I remember one of my worst shit shows was Shit Show in Tuscany, where it was my first international retreat, and I triggered a woman with PTSD. And that woman went off on a rampage, threatened to kill everybody at my retreat. And yet it was exactly what was meant to happen, because not only did I learn a lot about leadership at that event, and I learned that love your vibe really, really works, because the old me would have been triggered and
Yeah.
gone to bed for days, weeks, months, maybe years, because I have done that. But when I came back, I was stronger than ever. And a woman hired me right away. And a month into her coaching, she was feeling in a really bad place. And I said, I'm being called to share this story with you right now. And I told her my shit show in Tuscany story. It totally transformed her. She said, Elvira, I was feeling like the biggest loser on the planet. And just hearing what you've recently gone through, and it didn't take you out, you allowed it to make you better.
Yeah.
I know that I can get through this too.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, if I went through that just to serve you, my elite client,
Yeah.
I am so grateful for every single moment of pain in that shit show. And there
I
was a
love
lot. I wanted to crawl under a rock and die in Tuscany, Italy. So this is why we go through things, right? So here I am sharing the story of my mom, not proud of myself. I'm going to apologize after, but maybe someone was meant to hear it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we're both a fan of Hal Elrod and doing his book, Miracle Morning. He's amazing. But
I'm on day 3 of it. Miracles are happening big time.
it's so good, right? But he talks about in that book, right? Like he says, the messier your story, the better.
The
Right?
better.
The
Yeah.
better.
And
And
mine
I
is so
heard
messy.
yesterday on a, I know mine is too, but it's okay. Guess what? It's okay. I'm
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
But and one thing I listened to on one of his podcasts, I'll just say this, is you're not gonna die.
Yeah.
Like you're not, if you've got, let's say he used the example of because he had a really bad financial situation.
Yeah.
He read about. He used that example, and he said, "Okay, so you can't pay your bills. Is the bill coming to your house, knocking on your door with a machine gun, ready to take you away? You're safe. You're safe. No matter what is happening in this moment, you are safe." And I
Yeah.
loved that. It like
Yeah.
almost gave me a sense of freedom. Like it was
Yeah.
just really, I don't know. I really loved hearing them in that moment. And
Oh,
one thing I heard yesterday from Michael Singer's, I'm listening to a lot of podcasts, by the
oh,
way,
nice.
because
Nice.
I'm leveling up. I'm up
Yeah.
leveling, right? I'm
Yeah.
taking
Yeah.
action. I'm up leveling. I hadn't done it in a while, and I was like, no, I got to do it. It's messy. I got to. And MJ just said, "Yay, here's to messy." It's so true. Even if you don't know what to do it messy. Do it
Yes.
anyway. Take
Yes.
action. Take
Take
one step.
imperfect action
Yes.
forward, and you're gonna
Yes.
you're gonna figure it out as you go along.
And
Yeah.
don't hold the guilt and shame with it.
Yeah.
But Michael Singer said yesterday, this is why it's called evolution, because we evolve. And I
Yeah.
was like, ooh, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Right? We
Yeah.
evolve, we change, we grow, we morph into, our cells are changing constantly. So any situation you're in right now, whether it's,
Yeah.
arguing with somebody or, you're feeling guilty about this, let it go, because guess what? It's going to change. It will be different in an
Yeah.
hour from now. In the next day, it will be different.
Yeah. For sure.
Don't
For
be
sure.
defined by those mistakes. Don't hold on to it. Don't stay there. Just feel what you're feeling. If you can do anything, apologize, acknowledge
Yeah.
your guilt,
Clean it
acknowledge
up. Clean it up.
it
Yeah.
up,
Yeah.
clean it up before
Yeah.
it moves into shame.
Yeah.
Right?
I
That's
love
it.
that. Love
Yeah.
that. Oh,
So,
so good. So good.
what a great topic.
Oh,
Okay.
I love this. This is
Yeah.
so juicy. And yeah, and I mean, perfect timing, right? Like I just talked about my guilt from yesterday. If you're that one person that was meant to hear it, please comment below. Let us know if that
Yeah.
was you. And because there's usually at least one person that's meant to hear something if we've
I
gone
know.
through something challenging, and we can share it with them. And
Yeah.
and then, yeah, and as we grow as we go, and evolution is everything, right? Becoming the next level of ourselves, and healing shame, and working with guilt, and doing all those juicy things, and seeing the situations and the people that trigger you and test you and come your way, as angels of evolution. Situations and people can be angels of evolution. They're actually forcing you to evolve.
Yeah.
But so when I was, being bullied as a 45-year-old woman, just like a 15-year-old girl, corporately and then socially, these two people that hated and shamed me for years, and I went to a dark place mentally: depression, anxiety, panic disorder, bipolar. marriage on the skids and suicidal ideation, you know, they actually gave me the biggest gift,
Yeah.
because by hating me and shaming me, they forced me to do the inner work myself.
Yeah.
They became my biggest angels of evolution.
Love
And
it.
there's actually books being written right now. MJ's actually involved. She's doing the artwork for them. And Akoshua Brown,
Love it.
yeah, Okosho and I are writing them, and actually MJ might even want to contribute to the book as well, because she has a story that's very connected to my story of, being bullied corporately and all of that, and yet it's exactly what we needed, because it got us out of an inauthentic life to live our truth. So those
Yeah.
two people that hated me and shamed me and bullied me, they did me the biggest favor, because had they not treated me that way, you know where I'd be working right now, Lisa? Big Pharma.
Big
I'd
pharma
still be there
back there.
had they not treated me so badly. So they truly are my angels of evolution. And guess who the books are dedicated to?
Those, yeah, I know you told me that. Those two girls. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
So when we can reframe what's happening to us, when we can see that everything is forcing us to evolve, and especially the crap forces us to evolve, those situations, those people are our angels of evolution,
Yeah,
then life just transforms.
agreed. Oh, I love it. Beautiful, beautiful way to end the show. Thank you so much for those,
Yay.
pieces of information, and thank you to everyone that joined us. MJ,
Yes.
there's another
Mwah.
face
We love you, NJ. Yeah.
it is, but they said so wonderful to see you gorgeous souls again on here. So
Oh,
yeah, we love you. And
we
we're
love
really
you.
grateful for the support. Honestly, it means a lot. So
Yeah.
thank you. And
Please share this if somebody needs this message.
I was just going to say that
Yeah.
if somebody, it's Janet. Oh, Janet,
Oh,
hello.
Jen, we love you.
If you need, if you know someone that could use this, please, we are on YouTube. These always get uploaded by the end of the day.
Yeah.
Just go check it out. All our previous broadcasts are there. So, yeah, you never know who might need this.
Yeah.
So until next week, we love you, and we will
Mm.
talk to you again soon.
All
Bye
right.
for now.
Mwah. Bye.
3, 2, 1.